Welcome back. With the foundation now laid, we're ready for 3 principles of leadership and communication that will elevate your leadership and communication to new heights during difficult times. To introduce these first principles, I need a little bit of help. I need some help from Sandra Bullock and Kofi Annan. You're now going to see 2 short video clips of Sandra and Kofi, and we're going to see what we can learn from Sandra and Kofi. Here's the first one. Enjoy 30 seconds of Sandra.
Please welcome my friend, Sandra Bullock.
Okay, that's Sandra Bullock. How would you describe Sandra? What impression did she make on you? I guess you describe Sandra as probably spontaneous, outgoing, energetic, and maybe even fun. Fantastic. Let's compare her now. In fact, let's contrast her with Kofi Annan. 20 seconds of Kofi Annan.
Imagine an African continent. Imagine an African continent where leaders use mineral wealth wisely to fund better health, education, energy, and infrastructure too. Africa, our continent, has oil, gas, platinum, diamonds, cobalt, copper, and more.
As someone who's fact-based, professional, serious, methodical. Excellent. Now imagine that you're the leader of these 2 people. And of course the world is much more dynamic and complicated than just 2 types of people. But imagine that you lead these 2 people. And as they come to work today, you're going to inform them for the first time that they're going to work on a project together. What are these 2 people likely to think about each other when they learn they're going to be working side by side on one project every day for the next 6 months? Well, Kofi Annan might look at Sandra, and we hope that when he does, he thinks, wow, she's so energetic, enthusiastic, way out of the box thinking. This is going to be a fantastic project experience for me. But on the other hand, he's also likely to look at Sandra and say, this is someone who's maybe undisciplined, unstructured, probably late. Yes, lots of ideas, nothing really grounded in reality, nothing we can use here. This is going to be a challenge. And Sandra, when she looks at Kofi Annan, she might think, and we hope she thinks, wow, he's so organized, so self-disciplined, no detail is too small. We're going to get a very accurate, precise result on this project. I can't wait to work with Kofi. But on the other hand, she's also likely to look at Kofi and think, oh my goodness, you need to keep anything sharp away from me. I will just cut myself right now. This guy sucks all the life and all the energy out of me. This is going to be total disaster. Friends, here's the point. Although the world is more complicated than just 2 types of people, we can clearly see from this video that people are different. And one of the 3 greatest challenges we have as leaders is to recognize how our people are different and how we should adapt our leadership style and communication style to suit the different people on our team. The first rule of both leadership and communication is this: it's not about you. It's always about them. The challenge for us as leaders is that we tend to lead and communicate with other people the way we want to be led and the way that we'd like to be communicated to. So I challenge you now to look at the teams, the people around you, the people who work for you, and ask yourself, how good are you at recognizing, 1, how they're different, and 2, how good are you at really adapting your leadership and your communication styles? Because I guess we look at these 2 people and we think there's no way that we should communicate, give instruction, motivate, or feedback Kofi Annan the same way we would Sandra. And friends, that's principle number 1. Principle number 2 is much bigger and it's more concrete. Principle number 2 probably includes some ideas that you know, maybe some that you don't know, and I think it's going to include some that surprise you. It's the totality of these 5 inside principle number 2 that form a very strong platform for employee performance. So I need to get through all 5 quickly to see them in their totality so you recognize how important they are. Here are the 5 fundamentals that need to be clearly communicated to every team. Number 1, vision. Vision's a very big word, and when we think of vision, we tend to think of vision on sort of a corporate level. But what vision does for our people and our teams is it sets direction and purpose for them. Isn't it true that yes, organizations need direction and purpose, but don't also individual teams or even departments need that? So it's great that organizations have a sort of corporate global vision, but what about on the team level? And even more importantly, many organizations are operating with visions now that lack relevancy. If we worked, for example, for a travel agency whose vision is to be number 1 in organizing family holidays in the Mediterranean, under COVID conditions and restraints, that's a very difficult vision to find any sort of motivation, direction, or purpose from. So what organizations and what departments very much need right now is if we say, okay, COVID is likely to affect us for the next 2 years. During the next 2 years, what should our vision be? In other words, when we get out of COVID 2 years from now, what point do we want to be at? And that's a vision. That level of vision is what every team and every department needs, especially during times of trouble, because the sort of large global corporate visions are often too high for them and they're often lack relevance during difficult times. Vision's number 1. And of course, a vision is followed by goals. Where vision sets direction and purpose, goals are actually what gives people motivation. We know very specifically, concretely, what we're working towards. Where vision, in today's case, might be for a 2 or 3 year period, goals tend to set for 6 to 12 months. They give people direction, they become milestones so we can see that we're making progress and heading in the right direction. That's the easy one. The next one here is strategy. Strategy is, of course, our game plan for how we're going to achieve the goals. So we get a little more serious here about the goals and we break it down to specific steps. What are we going to do on a daily, a weekly, or a monthly basis in order to make sure that we reach the goals? Next one's even more interesting. Roles and responsibilities. No doubt, when each of your people joined your organization, it was very clear exactly what the role and responsibility in the department or on the team was. However, people come in and out of teams. We move into different markets, companies upsize, they downsize, and whenever these things happen, it affects people's roles and responsibilities. They become less clear over time. During COVID, if your people ever needed a clear definition of exactly what is my role and my responsibility relative to the goals, to the strategy, to the vision, it's now. Clarify for your people exactly what their roles and responsibilities. And the last one on the list, I think, is one of the most interesting ones on the list. Culture is as equally big as vision is. And when we think of culture, we tend to think of the corporate values which have been decided and recommended through the organization. Those are good and fine. But what we're really thinking of here for culture in terms of teams are rules of engagement. In other words, what should we expect of each other? I had a leader say to me just a couple of weeks ago, I would like the people on my management team to take independent, proactive responsibility. When things come up, I just want someone to respond and act to it. So I asked the leader, I said, have you exactly communicated that to your people? I expect you to take proactive responsibility when things come up. And the answer was no. If we don't clearly communicate what we expect from people, how should we expect that they'll satisfy our expectations? Culture means that we take time to ask and answer the question for our employees and the people we work with. What should you expect of me? And I want you to know what I expect of you. Establish rules of engagement. These 5, when you stand back now and look at all 5 of them, these 5 fundamentals form a very strong platform for employee performance at all times. In times of uncertainty, as employees, we look to the 5 fundamentals for direction and for stability. The fundamentals directly reflect your leadership capabilities. In the best of times, 1 in maybe 10 companies have all 5 of these in place. During today's difficult times, very, very few. That, friends, is principle number 2. Take time to clearly communicate the fundamentals to your team. 3. COVID has, of course, created a tremendous amount of uncertainty, and it's greatly impacted our ability to interact with other people. Many years ago, Maslow identified the 5 different levels of needs that all human beings have. The middle one here, called love and belonging, is our need to bond, our need to socialize, have friendships, our need for intimacy. It's not highly compatible with social distancing. What we need to focus extra on as leaders today are opportunities to help people engage to meet their social needs. We need to prioritize people's social needs. There are many ways that we can do this, and no doubt many leaders are highly aware of this, they're focused on it, trying to do something about it, but we see in organizations today there's much more that can be done. We can give regular priority to people's social needs by, for example, although we can't meet as teams as a whole, we can often allow and make opportunity for people to meet formally or informally in much smaller groups. Groups of only 2 or 3. Under the right conditions, where they're well protected, there's still distancing involved, we can allow people to gather in smaller groups so they have that personal connection and interaction. We can also organize online meetings, but online meetings that have no agenda, which means that we meet once a week or perhaps once every 2 weeks for a 30-minute meeting. Maybe it's a coffee session where we just meet up online, we interact with people, but there's no agenda, no real business discussed. Or on Fridays, we still meet at 4 o'clock for that 1600 beer. We take time to socialize, have a cup of coffee, have a beer. Most importantly, no agenda. Just allow people to interact. And the last one is a great one. Companies have focused very much on team building activities until COVID, but we can still do online virtual team building activities that create a lot of social interaction for people that help them make up for the lost interactivity during the last 9 months. What's even better about this one here are 2 things. One is we can pick a different person on our team each month and tell them this month you're responsible for deciding, organizing, and executing a team building exercise virtually. It's very easy today with internet to find great online or virtual team building activities. Give that responsibility to a different person every month. In fact, a great one is to go back to the 5 fundamentals and tell people, I want you to work in small groups or teams, and I want you to set a strategic vision for you and your colleagues for the next 2 years. Come up with 3 concrete goals we should work towards. Define, let's say, a 1-page strategy plan. Clearly define what you think your role and the roles of others on your team need to be in order to achieve the goals, meet the strategy, and achieve the vision. And lastly, decide some rules of engagement. What should you people expect of each other? Makes a great team building exercise activity. Friends, those 3 principles are extremely important. Few leaders were well prepared when COVID kicked in to lead offsite teams. These guidelines give us and our teams much of what they need, much of what's missing in order to perform on a consistently high level with a level of high employee satisfaction. Leading and communicating in times of trouble will take you very far if you follow these 3 points. Adapt your leadership and communication to the different people on your team. Clarify the fundamentals for your team and prioritize your people's social needs more than ever. I leave you with this final thought. As leaders, we always get the employees we deserve. I hope it's been interesting. I hope it's relevant. Thank you for watching.